Okay, looks like I'm out of luck. So anyhow, I'm gonna continue. The topic of my talk is things I wish I knew as a junior developer. I'd first like to start with some questions. How many of you consider yourself as a junior or just a software engineer and not a senior? A good chunk. A good chunk. That's good. And how many of you think like what is like what should be there? What actually differentiates you from being a junior and like a senior? Is it just core technical skills, or is it like your mindset? Like the people who say core technical skills, can I see the hands?
When I look into the stuff that still I want to learn, so that makes me, it is the new thing that still I have to learn, so that makes me
okay. And can I see the hands of the people who say that it's more of a mindset than just a hard skill? Okay, very few hands, so that means a lot of people are confused. If I can get this thing back. Anyways, this is the way my slide, while this thing loads, I can give a small intro of myself. So I'm Kishan Mahandar, currently working as a senior software engineer, quality and maintenance lead at Namshi. Namshi is an e-commerce portal that runs in the Middle East, headquartered in Dubai. We serve around 6 countries now, including Jordan and the GCC. GCC is like a union of 4 or 5 countries in the Middle East for economic cooperation. Here we go, we have it back. I am an agile follower, and I believe microservices can do great things, but there are conditions behind going microservices or not. We have already heard about console and SOA and microservices, so probably if someone wants to discuss later, I'm there. So, the one who considers yourself junior, this is what happens when you give production access to a junior for a bit. The guy generally panics out. I took this from, I think I forgot the site. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, yes, there is a distinction between junior and senior, good developers and not so good developers. This is something that was circulated in many social media like some months back. So how I see about being a junior and senior is more of a mindset. With this picture, a lot of discussion was happening, like you should take every opportunity you get, the dog is a fool, X, Y, Z. And then, after a day, this picture appeared. And then people start saying, okay, the dog is not really a fool. It was calculating its options, and then it took the chance, and these kinds of things. Why this thing here? So this is basically to say, this is what differentiates between a junior and a senior. Okay? Your mindset about problems. Like how you think about a problem, how you want to attack it, how you want to solve it. That's the thing that generally differentiates a junior and a senior. On a different note, like there was a very good post by Eric Elliott in that particular link there over Medium, saying what are the qualities of a great software engineer versus the worst. As you can see, the number 1 is problem solver, and the second one is skill. On the other side, for the worst, the number 1 is incompetent, and the second one is arrogant. So, as I'm trying to repeat the same thing, it's the mindset, it's how you think, it's how you want to solve a problem that actually differentiates you between a junior and a senior. So as the talk says, the things that I wish as a junior software engineer or junior developer, let's jump into that part. So the first thing, all of us hopefully write code, maybe most of us, but I think it's just a byproduct. You are being paid to do just 2 things. 1, either add value to the company, 2, save cost. That's the main goal of everyone working. So that's why you should always value solutions and the value that you provide to business than the latest technical fad. Angular 2 came out, let's use it. Docker is the best thing right now, let's use it. I don't know. Maybe that's not the thing that you need to do. The thing that you need to do is, that bug is there since 5 days, let's solve that thing. The customer wants this feature within 2 weeks, let's do that. I mean, that should be your approach than saying, let's use the latest framework, let's use the latest technical fad. That's something you could actually just experiment and do later. Another thing that I see, that I wish I knew when I was like just starting my career 7, 8 years back, we have to be very strong in the basics. How many of you know what's the latest version of HTTP? No hands? So HTTP basically drives all of our web applications, right? What version of HTTP are we using right now, by default?
1.1?
1.1. It's actually 1 and depends upon the browser if it's 1 or 1.1, and 2 is coming, right? So these kinds of basic things everyone should be knowing as a junior. How many of you use connection pooling or know about it?
Yeah, connection pooling.
1, that's it. So I think, I don't know, 2. So I don't know, I think we are like 100 people here and only 2 people know about connection pooling. That's a problem, right? So basically connection pooling is let's say you are talking with a MySQL server, you establish 7 or 8 connection as a pool, and then you take a connection from the pool, use it, and then give it back to the pool, and then someone else can use it. Probably for PHP developers it might be a bit difficult because all of our code runs synchronous and everything is created and turned down on every request. But for other things where the connection and the system is kind of not rebuilt on each request, it is possible. How many of you know memoization or memoize? 1, 2, 3, oh, some of them. Good. So look, I mean, these are like very basic things which can be applied to any programming language, right? And if very less people know it, that means you should be more stronger in your basics. Another very, very important code. First solve the problem, then write code. I always see basically junior developers, you give them a problem, the first thing they do is already start writing on their keyboard. That's not the greatest approach in the world. So what you should actually be doing is thinking about the problem, trying to solve it in your mind, and then probably on paper as well. So after you have a solution, then go and write code. It will help you get to the solution faster, get the feature out a lot faster, and maybe even a better solution. This is another thing that I learned over time, basically in the last 5, 6 years. It's always very easy to write magic code that right now you understand, and then after 2 months only God understands. So always be very thoughtful about, is my code maintainable? And think about a case like the other guy who is reading it is a mad guy with a chainsaw. So he's going to come back to you and try to kill you if the code is not maintainable, good enough, simple enough, readable enough, and all that thing. This could be a completely different talk, but generally try to make code very simple. A lot of times we just focus on the solution and making it work. We are not really focused on making it simple. So think of simplicity and maintainability. And yes, if my code reviewers were this pretty, I would do the code review every 2 hours. But on a real note, code reviews really help. Even the last meetup, we had a panel discussion about it. So code reviews and tests are like your shields against a lot of bugs. So code review or peer-to-peer review, or whatever you want to call it, is a very good way to start. So even if you are not writing tests, you can do code reviews or as a PR, or even shoulder to shoulder, you can do pair programming. If I knew these things when I started 7, 8 years back, I mean, maybe I would have been even more better right now. Yeah, but basically code reviews help a lot. So anyways, how many of you are actually doing code reviews as of now? Okay, not even half of the audience. So there is surely some scope to do more code reviews here. Another very, very important lesson. Testing is easier than debugging. Simple. So, how many people do actually write tests here? That's a good number, impressive. So, I think what unit tests actually does is it validates that your understanding of the problem is correct. And what UI test validates is that it does what it needs to do. So testing is very, very important to us as developers so that we can be sure and then we can be 100% assured that what we are writing is what is needed. And it's already validated because as soon as you push, your tests say that it is good or not. And then with a good test coverage, actually test coverage is not a very good measure of looking at things, but having a good coverage always kind of helps. Automation is king. There is a saying called, never do anything twice that you can automate once. And I think this is a very powerful thing. If you can automate your deployments, by the way, the background is, I think, Capistrano deployment. So if you can automate your deployments, if you can automate your CI stuff, as soon as you push, it runs your test and then it sends you an email if it fails. So these things should be automated. If you are doing anything manual, and if you did it already 3 or 4 times, think about how can I automate it? Because it's going to help you. How many of you here are following the Laravel Developers Nepal group? Or are in that group? Okay, 5, 6, almost 10 of them. So if you see there, all of the posts there, 90-95% of the posts, I don't do it myself manually. There is a bot that's doing it. That's the secret. So what I'm saying is, let's automate things. Another very, very important step that I think, as he said, comes to you when you are at scale, when the application is large. Large as in how, maybe in terms of number of users, in terms of number of requests per minute, per second, and stuff. So always have application logs. There's a very good saying that says, if dog is the man's best friend, logs are a developer's best friend. So what I feel is, application logs, or generally logs, are the only way where the application communicates back to you, right? For example, by application log, I mean like you could have a log that says user 110 has been created when the user insert query is done, or when the user insert process is done. And let's say if you have a catch statement or something that says user one or user blah blah could not be inserted because of blah 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 errors which your trace will surely have. So application logs actually help you a lot. And then when you have something like a distributed system and you don't have logs, it's a nightmare to debug. Simple. Right, so I'm not just talking about MySQL logs or Apache access and error logs. Write code in your application itself where you can have breakpoints, where you can have checkpoints, that you can see that, okay, my thing actually ran. And then it did the stuff that it had to do, like create a user, update a user, XYZ, send an email, whatever. So that's very important. Another part of the story is monitoring. Let's say if you have 2 servers, and both of them are running at 95% memory and, I don't know, 98% CPU. They will go down anytime. So if you don't know that your servers are running at 95% CPU, how are you going to solve that problem? You cannot. So you could use any free service like Relic, AppDynamics, Sematex, whatever. They are free, and I think for a general small load, it is easy to do that. So you can just add them to your servers, have some agents, and then know what your servers are saying. So in case if you see a spike of memory or RAM or space being less, you could act upon it faster before the user knows it. Like if your server goes down, then probably your application is already down. So these 2 things always help you, and try to integrate them, include them in your applications. I think this is the last point, so probably I am on time. Great. So non-technical things are actually very important. The first I see lacking in a lot of developers, and I wish I knew when I was junior, is proactive communication. At the end of the day, make a push, make a commit, let your manager know, or let your supervisor know that you have done that. And it's difficult for a manager to come to each one, or a supervisor to come to each one and ask. It's better that it's the other way around, that you're proactive enough, and then you can say, this task I completed around 50%, but I'm stuck at this, so I might need 1 extra day. And these kinds of things really help the supervisor, because he can communicate above, and then everything can be sorted in time, rather than last minute, like tomorrow is the deadline, and today you're saying, no, I cannot do it, I still need 4 days. No one's going to take that as an answer. It would be very difficult for everyone to manage that situation. And other smaller things like being on time, actually being professional about what you're doing is really helpful. That you will learn step by step, but even as a junior developer, if you can have these skills, it will really help you. I wasn't the last one. The last one is another important one. Do not make a lot of abstractions. You don't need all those layers. For example, an ORM. ORM is just a layer on top of your database, and then you do your operations on that ORM. I'll just give you one small example. We were working with a service like in the past weeks. What we were doing earlier was with an ORM and other extra layers which were probably not needed, and the service was responding at around 40-45 milliseconds per second. Sorry, 40-45 milliseconds. And then later what we did is we rewrote it in Node, very slim, just 4 files, no ORM, nothing, all the queries by our hand. And then that same thing was responding around 7 or 8 milliseconds. So it was like decreased by 4 times, 3-4 times. So the crux of the matter here is that whenever you are adding that extra layer or that extra abstraction, think for yourself, do I need it? Can I do without it? And then think that, does it really add value? Is it really maintainable? Because at times, what I see is large users here. How many? All of them using Eloquent, which is another ORM. Right? So let's say I have to join 3 tables, get 3 fields out of it, and let's say the guy who is joining today, will he understand that, or will he understand the regular select blah 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 query? Surely the regular, right? So I mean, think of it. There are tools, but you don't need to use all the tools. There are tools, but you don't need to think, is it maintainable? Will it be helpful to the new guy who joins? There are other forms of abstractions as well, like sometimes I see configurations being in levels, and then a type of file is converted to another type of file and all that, which may be necessary or which can be done even, you could go ahead even without those things. And that's it. So I'm pretty much on time, and there's a quote, I think I wrote it on Twitter, there is no pill that will turn you into a great programmer overnight. You have to do your practice, you have to do all of your learnings. So more of it at that thing. I will hopefully share the slides soon, and you can get me at Kishan, the Twitter handle, and that's my blog where I rant about things, generally tech things. So yeah, that's it. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and shoot. No questions, really? Great, go ahead. Sorry, there's Amit. Yeah. Sorry, can you get the mic? I think it's too far. Go ahead, Sunil.
Almost there. Thank you for thank you, Gizin, for the nice note.
Thank you.
I like I'm good. Like it's a more focus developers.
Yes, it is focused developers. Go ahead.
So, I think like we should be more focused a bit more on organization cultures. Developers are saying like organization they need to like settle down with the organization culture. Like उनीहरुको आफ्नै पर्सपेक्टिभहरु आफ्नै विचारहरु चाहिँ लाइक उनीहरुले आफूले के कुरा र त्यो अपर्चुनिटी they are not going to like be good programmers or good developers. यसको उसमा चाहिँ लाइक मेबी टपिक होला यो हाम्रो यो कम्युनिकेसनमा हैन तर I believe अलिकति सिनियर डेभलपर्सबाट चाहिँ अर्गनाइजेसनमै भन्नु कल्चरल चेन्जको कुराहरु र एडजस्टमेन्टको कुराहरु चाहिँ आयो भने it would help the junior developers because it's not in their hand where they go and work and make the change, I guess, yeah. So अलिकति त्यो पार्टमा चाहिँ पुश भयो भने we would have more better developers. That's it.
Check. यसमा दुईटा कुरामा add गर्दैछु as in compliment गर्दैछु. एउटा there is a saying like if the fish are dying in the aquarium and you put a new fish and it dies, the problem is not in the fish, the problem is in the aquarium itself. Yeah? So system, as I said, it makes sense where the system plays a big role. I agree. But your talks are kind of developer focus there. अर्को कुरा तिम्रो यसमा एड गर्दाखेरि if you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So if you are like the best in the organization, probably it's time to move on and like go into somewhere else where you will find smarter people than you. So try to think like in that way. If you are kind of restricted or stuck somewhere, all the questions. Surely.
I really think myself as a student of software engineering, though I have been in the industry for almost 8-9 years. You reminded me my first 2 years of my career, going through the slides. त्यो एउटा चाहिँ जुन एउटा स्टुडेन्ट लर्निङ जुन एभ्रिडे I'm not going to do a job in a company, my office. So म चाहिँ स्यालेरी लिनलाई अथवा चाहिँ त्यो एउटा मात्रै पर्सपेक्टिभ नभइकन चाहिँ एउटा कलेजमा जाने बेलामा चाहिँ त्यो जुन मेरो प्यासन हुन्छ त्यो सिक्नलाई त्यो प्यासन भयो भने चाहिँ मेबी तपाईँले भने जस्तो माइन्डसेटमा चाहिँ इम्प्याक्ट पर्ने हो.
Exactly. So if you look at the fifth point here, passionate. When that thing dies, you are not even in the great developers list, the so-called 10x developers list. So passion should always be there. I mean, that's like a prerequisite. Are the question? Or was it time that's up?
2 minutes. Yes.
Okay. 2 minutes here. Any questions? No, I'm still there if you want.
Minus 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm minus 2 minutes. Sorry. So yeah, that means I'm done. Any questions are and I'm there. You can ask me in person. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Jason. At least, the last slide reminded me of the